Hello, once again, good morning, and welcome to Living in the 21st Century. Joining me today is Barbados Consul General from Massachusetts. That's Tim Downs. Also joining me is Barbados Consul General from New York, Mackie Holder. And we have in the house, no stranger, her name is Maureen Prescod. She is the president for UBIM, that's United Barbadians in Massachusetts. Gentlemen and lady, thank you for joining me today on Living in the 21st Century. My first question goes out to you, Tim Downs. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how best will you serve Barbadians here in Massachusetts as well as Barbados.
Yeah, good morning. First of all, a slight correction. I'm not the Consul General for Massachusetts. I'm the Honorary Consul for Massachusetts, which means that the Consul General, Honorable Mackie Holder, is I work under him. How do I serve Barbadians here? It's been my passion for many years here in Boston since I've been here to try to reach out to Barbadians from throughout the Commonwealth, throughout this particular hemisphere. So I've always been part of groups that reach out to the community here. Right now, we, as the Grand Master of Prince Hall, we're also reaching out to Barbadians here as far as the COVID vaccine is concerned. So in a lot of ways, we reach out to the community for their needs. And also, even before I was a Consul General, Honorary Consul, I served them with assisting in passport forms, the various things that are needed from Barbadians here. And in Barbados, it's just, I'm always there. In terms of assisting Barbadians there in Barbados, if there are any disasters or hurricanes or things like that, I've always been the one to try to gather goods or anything like that to help serve those people who were,
Yes.
hurt by the hurricanes or anything like that. So I've always been on both ends trying to assist Barbadians.
Great. And CG Holder, you were in this political atmosphere for a long time, for many, many years. You come from the same parish I came from in Barbados. So tell me a little bit about yourself servicing Barbadians here in New York, as well as keeping things going fine at home. Is there any strategic plans you have to maintain that excellence?
First thing, let me say thanks for having me on your show, Errol. It's a pleasure. And the next thing I will say is that there's nothing political about this at all. Once we come from Barbados and we are appointed to positions like this, it is all about Barbados, and not about politics at all. So we're here to serve all Barbadians in the 11 states on the eastern seaboard that we represent in whichever way. And this takes a number of forms. We do things like what we call the consular work, which is passports, repatriations of Barbadians who want to go back to Barbados to live, those kind of things, citizenship, and that sort of thing. But the plan really overall is to form deeper alliances with Barbadians wherever they may be, in the areas that we represent, and also to change the orientation slightly more into a business direction, where we can seek to attract investments to Barbados, but also seek exposure for Barbadian products, whether that be pepper sauce or something like that, or whether it be cultural products. And the cultural products present opportunities for Barbados. As you know, Barbadians are very talented. As we speak now, we have probably the most successful person in the whole entertainment cultural spectrum, which will be Rihanna. And across that spectrum, there are wide opportunities to export Barbadian talents. So that is our plan, and we execute it by first forming stronger ties, and I think we've been able to do that in the last few years with the various Barbadian associations, including UBEM in Massachusetts, which is an umbrella body. We've been able to kickstart some new organizations. As you know, many of these are tied to institutions, which would be mainly schools. And we've also been able to form some alliances in the wider community and with government agencies and that sort of thing. So it's a building process, and we feel that the more we can publicize Barbados in all kinds of ways, including what we're doing today, and we can get people to understand the various programs and what is available in Barbados. All of that helps, of course, to develop the island. Of course, we want our own people to invest in Barbados, and a number of them have done that. One thing I can safely say is that Barbadians who live overseas are very invested in the success of their country. They have been and they continue to do so. The last year has been one that has been extremely challenging in all respects. But the Barbadian community has really stepped up and contributed, whether it was in the provision of tablets to the Prime Minister's charity or just helping generally.
Yes, great. So yeah, so this question is for the president of UBIM, which is United Barbadians in Massachusetts. Maureen, I know you for quite a while now, and I know for a fact that you are a driving force between activities here in Massachusetts and keeping close connections to Barbadians in Barbados. What is your strategic plans going down through this year into next year for active promotional activities, keeping Barbados up and going? What's your plans for this time around?
Thank you, Errol, for that question. I haven't met with the committee. We've just had elections just a week ago, so we haven't really met to formalize a plan for activities. However, since that we're in the period of COVID, it changes a couple of things that we were going to do, because for UBIM, we've had activities just to raise funds to host the Barbados Independence. And there were like 3 activities during the course of the year, and those activities involved a lot of community work, community contact. So given that, we certainly want to maintain a visible force within our community. So we're going to be making a shift and using the social media and all the visuals that we can use to connect with our people, to share what we're doing, because this COVID-19 certainly has changed our outlook. Yes. We certainly can do some wonderful things. There's some organizations here in Massachusetts that have continued to be very relevant. And so UM needs to step up a little bit, and we need to show a little bit more community work. And this gives us the time to make the adjustments to our bylaws and constitution, giving us a little bit more flexibility that we can actually become a little bit more engaged within the community. So we're hoping to continue to do that within these next few years, while we've got some time to think about what we can do to really reach our people.
Excellent. Because I just was about to ask CJ Mackie Holder pertaining to this line of conversation we just had. The coronavirus had dealt an economic blow basically to Barbados, and we know for a fact that tourism is one of our major foreign income earners to the country. And not only Barbados, but other Caribbean territories will have suffered the same economic blow. With the pandemic still taking its toll at this point, is there any strategic plans that we're going to put in place going forward in the future, either to make up for lost time, or to even look at life from a different standpoint in making its economy stronger. Do you have any ideas at this point what the Prime Minister Mayor Martley may be thinking in terms of keeping the economy as active as possible?
Um, I think first I would say all countries um, share somewhat the same
Yes.
challenges to going forward as a result of the pandemic. Before COVID-19, Barbados had embarked on a process after a few years of economic decline of restructuring and resetting the economy. Yes, based around tourism still as our driver, but moving into other areas, digitization to increase and improve efficiency, ease of doing business, investing in the what we call the cultural industries and other areas involving young people, and looking also at other areas that we would not have paid as much attention to as we should have previously, including agriculture, not in the way obviously that would have been done before, but to look at the sort of marketplace and see where we can find niche areas that we can be either dominate or be one, second or third in. So there was a pivoting going on, and it involved a lot of training and so on. In the period of COVID, obviously we've been severely impacted because of our tourism. Tourism is our main driver. And as much as we can speak and talk and throw up ideas, that is not going to change anytime soon. The truth is that even New York, if you look at New York is pretty much based on the same things as Barbados. New York is predominantly a tourist destination. It is also the financial center of America. Barbados, the same. Barbados's income is from tourism and in a wider scale, what we call financial services. So those have been impacted. We have used the pause, as we call it, to retrain our tourism people to increase professional skills. There's ongoing work looking at how we pivot in other areas, and this pivoting means that how we strengthen some areas and look at areas that might not be as necessary in this kind of world and going forward. It's a difficult balancing act though. So I don't want to underestimate the challenge. It is hard for a small economy to change far less a big economy when faced with something like the pandemic. Changing an economy takes time. There's a long term plan, as we say, to go more in the route of cultural services period, and into other areas of agriculture, equipping our young people to be a lot more integrated into what is a technical world or tech savvy world.
This question goes out again to Tim Downs. I want to ask you this also as an academic scholar. Barbados can be deemed as one of the most academic, intellectual nations amongst the Caribbean region. Do you think at this time that at least Barbados can use their education as a platform to be the academic center for the Caribbean, where we have our own state university training Caribbean residents, even our own state hospital training doctors, even if we have to import a few good doctors from Cuba or someplace to train other doctors? Could we step into a next realm, step up the box, go outside the box, and look at our greatest resource, our academic excellence, and start to use that as an industry that can further build economic strength for Barbados? Also, we see a place like Dubai, and Dubai took up square miles of the ocean and build several other small nations, almost the size of Barbados. Now, I'm not saying Barbados is to go that far, but would it be a good idea if we can think about taking up a part of the ocean? And I'm saying this mildly because even though Dubai done that, all the houses and commercial buildings and whatever they built were sold actually before the projects came into tuition. And I say that because I think for real estate can play an important role in economic development for Barbados, but we got to think good marketing and healthy strategies, even if it means we have to do what we just said in terms of taking a part of the ocean and building commercial buildings and houses and so forth, that tourists can come here actually and buy a piece of Barbados. Because we are so small, there's limited land to sell to people who want to go there and live. So, I mean, these are things I'm thinking about. It doesn't necessarily have to happen overnight, but I'm saying if you're going to borrow money from the IMF and the World Bank to 10 years down the road, it's still difficult to pay it back. Why can't we take on big projects, even if we've got to do tolls in Barbados that cars can just put in their 50 cents when they travel? This also can build like revenue for Barbados. Do you think Barbados should also have an economic makeover? I know that's a big mouthful, CG 10 Downs, but I don't know if you can capture on a part of it.
So to answer the question about Barbados being an educational center where we have the University of maybe the West Indies or Barbados University, that is absolutely correct. We have the smarts, we have the educational level. So yes, we can do that. And what it also will do, it will attract foreign students from the United States, England, Canada, and so on. So we have to make it so that it's attractive to the foreign students. As far as building out in the ocean, we know that Dubai does have the capital, so it depends on the capital that you have, and that's where an organization like Invest Barbados comes in, because it needs to be marketed properly so that Barbadians throughout the world, along with other people, can invest and start a project like that. But that takes a lot of capital. So these things are possible. We should think outside the box, I believe. But let me just say one thing before. The CG had asked me back last year about organizing an educational summit. And he also just mentioned Professor Ward and the robotics program that he does every summer at University of the West Indies in Barbados. And I'm proud to say that that's one of the programs that I've supported for the last several years while I was the assistant director at Sea Grant. And I'm also, so just yesterday, I signed an agreement with the Boston Public Schools to do an after-school program here in Boston. And I'm connecting the summit, the education summit that the CG asked me to work on. I'm going to connect that because the Boston Public Schools in Prince Hall, we're going to be creating a curriculum on demand Prince Hall, who is from Barbados. And so I want to see if I can connect that also to the summit, because I believe we're going to go back to that summit, an educational summit in Boston. We did have a meeting with Maureen and the group just before the pandemic. So all these things, yes, they're possible. We want to work on all these things as well. Definitely the university in Barbados is a bright idea. It's gonna attract foreign students, and that's gonna be good for the economy. And also the building out in the ocean, it's gonna take a certain amount of capital, but if Invest Barbados were to market it properly, I believe
Yes.
it'll be successful.
So, Errol, if I may come in here,
Of course.
let me just start by the university. In the last, let's say, 20 years or so, starting under departed Prime Minister Owen Arthur, himself a graduate of the UE, invested a large amount of money into the building out of the Cave Hill campus of the University of the West Indies, in a number of directions, all of which aid the developmental process of Barbados, including building out cricket academy and areas like that, research areas and so on. And his vision was to make the university, while allowing for easy access, government funded access to nationals, building it out so that it becomes a commercial university as well, attracting foreign students. And that has been the case. It is still a work in process, uh, progress, very much so. But that is also a plan. The university is now obviously has been impacted by COVID as well. But the university has on the cards things like a medical center, medical research that it can sell, um, and those and some other a number of other partnerships where it can become a sort of semi-commercial entity. Um, the robotics program I just spoke about, that is centered in Barbados, but that also involves other Caribbean countries as well. And we're talking about very young kids. I believe they're all under the age of 16. So that is the sort of thing that is going on there. In terms of the building out of offshore, there has been a proposal on the cards for, I think, maybe more than 10 years now, to do that. But what I will say is that a small country like Barbados, we have to be very careful about how we manage our resources, and that we do not create a country that, while it is economically viable, is not socially manageable.
Okay.
And I will say also that capital investments through real estate has been a feature of the development of Barbados for the longest while, whether in hotels or actually in private villas. There are quite a number of multi-billionaires who made Barbados their home. And this has helped Barbados because apart from the substantial investments that they bring in terms of the actual buildings, they contribute a lot to the development, the social enhancement of Barbados. These go from people like Andrew Lloyd Webber, and I mean, Bill Gates has been there, so has been Warren Buffett, and that sort of thing. But there has also been a plan. I spoke about plans before. In, I believe, 2019, the Prime Minister outlined a vision for Barbados. And part of that vision is to build out the capacity, for instance, between the Hilton, and this is on the southwest coast, going all the way down to the start of the west coast on Brandon's. And there were a number of persons who had already demonstrated interest in building a whole mix of things, including hotels, residential complexes, entertainment centers, and the like. There was also a proposal to have a purpose-built marina and so on. Now, obviously, with the impact that the pandemic has had on finances, some of these things are changing, but those are all intended to be private sector driven projects, and the government is behind those. And I expect that in the coming months, once we get past the vaccination stage and we can get herd immunity going, that a number of those projects will come back on stream. So Barbados is looking forward. All that to say, is looking forward, but we have to be careful. I'm not so sure myself how the building out of islands will translate, but it has been a proposal has been made, and if you ever get a chance, you can look through Business Barbados and so on. You would actually see the drawings and so on. In fact, I should tell you that the chair of the UWI committee, um, Sir Paul Altman, is the person who is a known real estate developer in Barbados, is the person who put forward the idea and who has been putting it up there as recently, I believe, as a month ago when they had a discussion on the future of tourism. So the big ideas are there. I think Barbados is known for big ideas. Barbados has been ahead in a number of areas, um, whether elevating females or conceptualizing an education-based society, seeing that our only resource really is our people, and we understand the investment in our people in terms of education. But we have to be mindful of how we manage our resources, and that we are not investing in areas in which we cannot reasonably compete. And that is not to debunk the idea of the islands, but I think that sometimes, and the pandemic has caused that, sometimes we need to have a step back and look at the grand picture and see what is affordable and doable. And going forward, that is in the near future, that is going to be, will have to be the watchwords. What we can afford and what we can execute in a short time to bring back the economy.
So, Maureen, we're going to wrap up here. But just briefly tell us what are your plans for this year, and we will just wrap up after that quickly.
Well, as I mentioned before, I need to meet with my committee first. I do have my own plans and ideas for where I would like the organization to go.
Okay.
But honestly, after hearing the conversations today, well, the part I was able to hear from both the General and the Honorary Consul General, it makes me look at UBIM a little bit differently. We're formed originally to just plan the Barbados Independence Gala, but we need to be a little bit more deeper as a group. We need to really focus on what we can do as an organization, given the fact that we have an audience and people looking towards us for leadership. We need to start stepping into that realm. And it's okay to plan part and have these social events, but I think we also need to start thinking a little bit more on a political scale. However, we can make a difference and move that needle to help our people. We've got to have a different conversation than what we're having right now.
Definitely so.
Thank you. With that said, I want to thank you, Consul General Tim Downs, Consul General Mackie Holder, and UBIM President Maureen Prescod for joining me today on Living in the 21st Century. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Errol.